God's mercy. We are to rejoice and be thankful that God will continue to offer His gift of salvation to lost people until the final judgment at the great white throne. Here's Gene to explain.
Look at Revelation 8, 1 and 2. And here, this becomes incredibly devastating as the seventh seal is unfolded. And the seventh seal really is the unveiling of the seven trumpets. That's the seventh seal. When he opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour, and then I saw the seven angels who stand in the presence of God. 7 trumpets were given to them. Verses 5 and 6, the angel took the incense burner, filled it with fire from the altar, hurled it to the earth. There were thunders, rumblings, lightnings, and an earthquake. And the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared to blow them. Now, the principle talked about God's grace. And so here's a legitimate question. How does this devastation of God's power and wrath reveal God's grace? Where is God's grace in all of this? Well, let me give you another illustration. This involved the trumpets, right? Let me take you to an Old Testament story with Joshua and the battle against Jericho. You remember the story? God said to Israel, I want the priests out front, and then I want the altar out front, the ark, I should say, the Ark of the Covenant out front, and then I want the priests blowing trumpets. But I want them to blow those trumpets for 7 days, which is interesting. I'm not making any big deal out of that, except it's interesting it was 7 days. And they were to march around Jericho, around those walls for 7 days, blowing those trumpets. But on the 7th day, they were to march around 7 times, blowing their trumpets. 7 times. And then on the 7th time around, after they were through, they were to give this loud shout, and the walls would come crumbling down. Now, you see, God was going to judge Jericho. But we know some interesting things about the people in that city. From an event that involved a prostitute by the name of Rahab, which I think was basically she was a reformed prostitute, and I think she believed in the living God, and she changed her profession, and she was making clothes, and she had all this flax on the top of her house, and she had this business going, and if she were still in the old situation, she probably wouldn't have been in the business of making clothes. But when the spies came, she told these spies, we know what happened when the Egyptians tried to follow you across the Red Sea. That's 40 years ago. They knew about God's judgment on the Egyptians. We know what happened in the wilderness. 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. That's another 40 years. We know about that. We know what happened to the kings who tried to stop you. We know how God's judgment fell. And obviously, she said, we know what happened when you crossed the Jordan and how the waters rolled back. We know what happened at Shiloh when you replaced the circle of stones with the stones pointing to God and you offered sacrifices. We know all about that. Therefore, I believe that God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we know from the New Testament that she was saved because of her faith. She's included in the genealogy of Jesus. That means the king of Jericho absolutely knew all of this. All the people of Jericho knew all of this. And as they were looking over the wall, watching them go around the first day, the second day, up to 7 days, 7 times the 7th day, what was God saying to them? Repent. Another opportunity. Repent. Do you think God would have changed his mind? Well, what did he do in Nineveh? When Jonah went to Nineveh, how does this devastation relate to what happened there? Then God saw their actions, that is the people of Nineveh, that they had turned from their evil ways, so God relented from the disaster he had threatened to do to them, and he did not do it. Now, how God would change his mind is something that I can't explain. But he did. And he relented because judgment was going to come to the city. You see, that's God's grace. And what I am simply saying to you here is these 7 seals and all this judgment, including the trumpets, including the bowls, God is saying one more time, repent, repent. Sadly, we read, they would not repent. Many did. And they were martyred for the cause of Christ. And those are the ones that are mentioned earlier under the altar. You see, here is God's grace.